We're gonna get back into it. Part two.
Do you have ambitious non-black men approaching you for serious relationship?
Could you repeat that last
Do
part
you
again,
have
please?
ambitious non-black men approaching you for serious relationship?
To be honest with you, I really don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I guess the question I'm ultimately asking is, do you think a black man who's at your desired level would accept you, but would a white man, Hispanic man, Middle Eastern, or Asian man at the same level of that black man, would he accept you? Would any one of them accept you?
Mm, I don't. Not at the same level. I don't think so.
Whose level is the lowest?
Pardon?
Which race of men's level would be at the lowest?
Asian?
You think an Asian man would accept you before a black man?
No. I thought you said the other way around.
No.
The
Whose level is at
lowest.
the lowest? Meaning, who would be most likely to accept and least
So
likely
who
to
would be the
accept?
most Hispanic, probably?
Hispanic men will more likely accept you over a black man.
Hmm.
No. Hispanic men in general, the culture is very family centric, and women get to be around your age.
There's some big Latino women though, and they got hairy backs. They got the funny made bodies and stuff. I don't even think black men though. I think broke dudes. I think her best option, whoever she dates, it's gonna be a dude coming out the prison, dude getting fresh up out of the jailhouse, a dude that's recovering from a drug addiction, a dude that's flat broke, going through some shit. That's just it, man. Black, white, candy stripe is gonna be a nigga going through some shit.
No children, the family, the generation. And see, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have a conversation that everybody can use. And you came in saying some things that, hey, happiness is not on the man. And it sounds good. But I know what women are going to say. Okay, well, what are your relationships? And you don't have any relationships, really. And then that's fine. Life happens. But then you start talking about you would like to be in a marriage. And then you said the reason I'm not married is because of my standards. And ma'am, your standards are astronomical compared to your sexual marketplace value. The more we've talked, the more sure I've become the fact that you got a G-Wagon. You know what a G-Wagon is?
No.
A Mercedes SUV, the
Oh,
square
okay.
ones.
Yes.
Things like $250,000, right?
Hmm.
People are paying $100,000 over sticker to get one in high demand. You got a G-Wagon kind of expectation, and you're like a Honda Accord, and you don't see it. That's why I changed the races of men, because you said I feel like I got a 30% chance of getting married today when 1 in 4 black women will marry in their lifetime. And you already know you're 44, you're as tall as you are, you weigh what you are, what you do. You already know these things. So that, if you were being realistic, like you said, that should really have lowered your number to about 10%. But you have to believe, because at this point, I get it. That's all y'all got left because you're not doing the work. And then I said at 50, what does it go down to? About 15%. Now at 50, it goes down to almost zero. And you know why I say that? Because if I just simply switch the race of men, the truth comes out. I'm saying this so you can understand that, man, if you want to have a different outcome, you're going to have time to put yourself on an 18-month timetable. You'll have time to finish. You need to do that today, tomorrow. You need to start this tomorrow. And you need to lower your expectations to match where you are. All those things need to happen. The job, not so much. The weight, the counseling, and then lowering your standard to match what you are. And see, we tell men to lower their standards all the time, but women are told to aim for the stars because y'all don't want to settle. And it just confuses the hell out of us men to why average women don't want to settle. Audience, am I missing something here?
I don't even know if that's settling, man. I mean, like, she not like I said, a dude that's down bad, broke, going through some shit, fucked up in the game. That's the only dude that's gonna really try to mess with her. Dude coming up out of the jail system, dude coming about the rehabilitation system, out of recovery, a dude that's just down bad, a dude who ain't got no job, a dude whose employment is off and on. That's the only dude that's gonna crawl up in a bed with a woman that big, man. Woman too big, and she don't look like nothing.
Did you have anything you wanted to say, ma'am? Go ahead. You're not on camera. Go ahead.
No, what I was going to say was just that
Speak your speech.
I am aware of what you were trying to get out. Maybe I didn't articulate it properly. I know where I am in life because of choices that I've made. It's more apparent because I have listened to information that makes sense and I can see the validity in it. One thing that I am is self-aware. And if I'm misstepping, I will take accountability for that. So unlike a lot of people who will never say, "Oh, it's not me."
Okay, hold on. Use less words. Okay, hold on. Use less words. No, whoa. Okay, hold on. Use less words. So you say you do know where you are in life based on the choices.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm aware.
Okay,
I just didn't think ambition was a high standard, but when
it is. It is. Hold on, you're over talking.
I didn't realize that.
Ambition is. Why do you need an ambitious man at almost 45 years old? You don't have any children. You won't have any children. What do you need a man to have ambition for when you're over middle age? The building phase of life is over. We're in the later years, and especially if you take into consideration weight and health. Come on, man. Why do you need ambition? You said generational wealth. Women should want ambitious men when they are in their 20s, not 40s. But the real thing is because I believe I'm higher than I don't believe that you really have a good grasp on where you're really at. I really don't. Let me go ahead and unmute the other ladies, but hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. How old are you?
42.
42. So how important, happiness, how long should happiness last? Or are you willing to be bored in a relationship? That's what we're talking about tonight.
Younger me was not willing to be bored.
Okay.
But more mature me realizes that every day is not going to be happiness.
Okay. Do you have any children, by the way?
I do. I have one daughter.
And are you single or are you married?
I'm married.
Okay. How long you been married?
A little over 2 years.
Okay. All right. Lauren, let me unmute you too so we can have a round. She's just in here looking at TV. This woman is in just looking at TV. Yeah, you sitting on the couch. All right. If you're not going to join the conversation, we're going to bounce you. All right. So you've been married 2 years. Did you marry your child's father?
No, I did actually marry him and we divorced.
Okay. Lauren, hello.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm okay. You seem like you got a lot of stuff going on. You got other folks in the room with you. Seem like you're watching this on TV. What's going on? Okay. How old are you?
25.
All right. What do you got for me on the topic? and you got a very short leash because you got too many people in the room. So what's going on?
I don't know.
All right, Antoinette, we're back. I don't have time to play. Okay, don't join my show if you're not gonna come in. She's been here for 20 minutes. So you've been married for 2 years.
Yes.
Why was you said the younger you wasn't willing to deal with boredom, but the older you is? What is that? Explain what you mean.
I mean that any relationship, whether it's with your husband, your mother, your father, you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have times where you don't like them. But at the end of the day, that's your family and that's your husband. And you made a commitment and you need to work it out.
How old is your child?
16.
Okay. Are you done having children?
I am.
All right. And y'all got married. Does your husband have any kids?
No.
Okay. And you guys are married for 2 years.
Yes, we've been together for 10, but married for
10.
10 years. Yes.
10 years. Why did it take 8 years before y'all got married?
I know I'm going to get it for this, but
let me get the soundboard ready for you.
Wanted to finish school first.
Oh.
And so she had a baby. She married the first dude for 2 years, divorced him, met a simp, got married, held him around, held him at bay for 8 years, and then got married 2 years ago. She got a 16-year-old boy. So she got divorced. She was single for about 2 years, met the simp. He waited 8 years to marry her. That's a simp, bro.
Oh.
I'm a PhD.
What's your degree in?
I have associate's degree.
That take 2 years.
Huh?
That takes 2 years.
Well, I had prerequisites to do.
What did you have a prerequisite to climb Mount Gibraltar? I mean, come on, it's 2 years.
Well, we didn't get engaged until I was approaching starting the program.
Okay. So y'all together 10 years.
Yes.
You've been married for 2, but you didn't want to get married until you finished your associates. Well, okay. So, because I don't know, what was the logic behind that?
The logic for me was I was not looking forward to going back to school, and I used marriage to him as an incentive, as a motivator for me to finish school.
So it's like for getting my associates, the reward is marriage?
Well, for me, that was my train of thought at the time. Yes. It was, this is something that I want, so let me do this thing that I don't want, and then, or that I didn't want to do, and as a reward, then I would, focus on.
Did your husband ever want any children?
Huh?
Did he ever want kids?
No.
He never wanted his own kids?
No. I would have gave him some, but no, he did not want any.
So I'm always curious. Why black women seem like y'all are terrified of marriage? Because to say, you know what, let me put off a marriage when we're already the lowest rate of married women out there, so I can give myself an incentive to finish a 2-year degree. What if he just said okay and left you the next day, no question? I mean, straight up left, ghost, no contact, gone.
At the time, I was thinking, because school was so hard and so rigorous, that if my relationship survived, then it was meant to be. That was my train of thought then.
So, see, I want you guys to understand, men, black men. This is why I say sell out to femininity, because none of this stuff makes any sense. You guys put so many impractical, burdensome, and outright foolish things on marriage to where if it doesn't work, you can say it just wasn't meant to be. This is why I say you're home wreckers. So if I'm correct, he's like, well, if he would have left me, then it wasn't meant to be.
Yes,
Wow, man. I mean, you're honest, but damn.
I am. And I
So,
would,
They do. They overvalue. Black women overvalue themselves. I mean, but this guy was a simp, though. For him to wait 8 years for a baby mama who didn't want to marry him, and in the last, they've been together for 10. She accepted his proposal. That's ridiculous. That's unacceptable. But we don't know who this guy is. This guy could be a bum. This guy could be a loser.
so do you realize how that low that says y'all value us?
how low it sets
How low
women's
it,
value.
how low that how low black women that communicates black women value black men. Because I mean, again, ma'am, you have an associate's, and what's your associate's in?
Nursing.
And I mean no disrespect, I really don't. But it's not
I
like
know
you're
how you
talking
feel about
about
nursing.
getting nuclear. You're not like you're talking about nuclear physics or something from Princeton or MIT. You talk about a degree, you can get a DeVry or something, man. Nursing. And I'm saying this to put a little levity into it, to say that you're not uncommon. A lot of women will be willing to risk a relationship for a man. You can unmute yourself, Antoinette, because I left you unmuted. Hold on, let me ask you to unmute. Yeah, women are told fairy tales in life, and y'all are told that men are just supposed to be do all this stuff. Go ahead. Hello.
May I interject for a moment?
Go ahead.
The reality check that I've come to this conclusion, we were misinformed as girls,
Mm-hmm.
and we grew up into women who continually be misinformed, because what I'm hearing from not only your platform but from just in general, men want extremely feminine women. So to be sweet and to be kind and to listen and all those great things that have nothing to do with a degree. And what I'm understanding is if you're super feminine, you'll get the man, he'll take care of you, he won't leave you, but you got to do your part. And that's the part you have to do. You have to be feminine, you have to be kind, you have to be
Well,
sweet. But we're told, go get the degrees,
who
be
told you? Who you
self-sufficient,
told
do
that
all
by
these
who?
things.
Hold on. Who told you that though? We said we were told
And
this. Who told us that?
parents, be self-sufficient,
Which
go and
parent?
get your degree.
Which parent?
The mother, typically.
Okay, so we say we were told. Y'all need to go back to who told y'all that. Men don't have any part in the reason why mothers tell their daughters to go. And oftentimes I've had on this panel that women who were married have told their daughters to become independent, but then they wouldn't give up their lives. And my point is, now gas is almost $6 a gallon. It ain't a game no more. It ain't, and all these things that y'all are doing is like, well, I'll wait and I'll do this, I'll do that. Why are we the only community that waits so long? Our marriages last so short, and then the women are still like feel like they got all the time in the world and optimism. It confuses us as men. Let me bring in Tina. Tina,
Can I
your
ask a
audio is not
question?
connected. Go ahead.
Well, in her defense, though, and um, as a woman, she should always be feminine, and she should have always dealt with her weight problem. But um, men to suggest that every man who gets married doesn't need his wife to work is just insane. That's absurd. That's just fucking absurd. Women need to work also. They bring income into the home. That's just simply a part of that dynamic. If an individual is fortunate enough to be making $200,000, $300,000 a year, and he opts to have a stay-at-home wife, that's an option. But the percentage of men, specifically in the black community, the percentage of men who make over 100K, we're talking about 90,000 men, about 84,000 women. The major out of 40 million people, 40 million, it's not even 200,000 people. Less than 200,000 members of the black community make over 100K. If you want to start talking about the amount uh, of the 40 million, you're talking about the majority of them making under 100K. In many cases, unless they're willing to struggle to some degree, watch your budget, struggle, they're gonna need that woman to participate in work. And nowadays, you can work from home.
Where do you think, because I definitely agree with her as far as it was instilled in me by my mother and my father to get my education first and then think about family. So where do you think that did the disconnect?
Okay, were your mother and father married?
Huh?
Were your mother and okay? Let me make sure. Was your mother and father married?
No.
Oh, I see what's going on. Hold on. I see why they can't hear me. Testing. Can you guys hear me better now?
Yes.
Oh, beautifully,
All right.
beautifully.
Yes.
It just jumped out of your mother and father were not married.
Correct.
Okay. That's why were your mother and father not married?
To my understanding, because of infidelity on his part.
So your mother had a child before she married him okay. So
Yes.
have you ever got your father's side of the story from his mouth?
Yes.
Okay. Part of the problem is because we're all Generation X. So many women in Generation X bought into the feminism movement and told their daughters to get out and get a degree in this other stuff. But that does not mean get out and get a degree and then wait about getting a man down the line. Where are you supposed to get him? You weren't, it's not the degree, it's you were not raised to partner or work with a man. You weren't even raised to learn how to do with us. You think about what it like for you, Ariane. Is that it?
Arian.
Okay, Ariane. What did your mother raise you to do for a man? What did she tell you you're supposed to do for a man? Hi, Tina. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thanks for
Go ahead.
asking.
Go ahead. What did your mother tell you, raise you to say? This is your duty for your man. This is what you're supposed to do for your man.
She told me a lot of what not to do. The biggest
It's always the starting point. They always tell her what not to do. What did she tell you to do?
She told me to put my husband first before the rest of my family. Once I'm married, to put him first. Above her. And
That's smart. That's smart. That's smart. But I wouldn't even put this on. I think feminism, modern feminism, is terrible. But I wouldn't even give. I would not give feminism. I wouldn't blame them for parents teaching their kids to be able to take care of themselves. I mean, at some point, if they don't get married, what are they going to do? They're gonna stay at home with their mom. I mean, if they don't get married, what are they going to do? So, what I'm saying, I don't even think that's feminism. I just think that's just reality. And college is an excellent place to meet a spouse. College, excellent place to meet a potential husband.
So,
Everyone.
and how are you supposed to get married then?
Well, she pretty much, I guess, left the rest for me to figure
Thank you.
out.
So, in other words, you got this kind of instructions. Here's a bunch of stuff not to do. How do I get a husband? I don't got nothing for that. But once you are married, put him first.
Yeah.
But
She
then
did
they also
lead
tell
by
you to go to
example.
school. But they also tell you to go to school. Okay, so you weren't taught to do anything for us. So this is when y'all default to sex and babies.
Mhm.
But you don't.
Kevin,
Hold
Kevin,
on.
may I interject? Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, no, because you're not. Well, no. You don't. You're not taught to what you're supposed to do for us, and then you wonder why you can't work. Hey, Tina, how are you? How old are you, Tina?
I'm 32,
All right. Are you married or are you single?
divorced,
All right. Any children?
2.
All right. So we're talking about happiness, boredom, or whatever. What did you want to interject on the topic?
I wanted to speak about happiness and why
Okay.
it's probably unrealistic.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, this is someone that has been in a marriage, and just from my experience, I think that it's being over glamorized. And I don't think people, well, women, understand that sometimes excitement is not going to be there. Some days it's just going to be one day after the next, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that it's a bad marriage. It just means you're living life. I just wanted to add stuff like that.
It's boring. You have a routine. Tuesday soccer practice, Thursday kung fu. I mean, you got a routine. It's boring. It's a job.
Mm.
So you're asking, why did you get the bad information? Women, there's a long theory, but at the end of the day, a lot of women didn't had children before they had a husband. So they had to think in terms of survival. And women were taught to survive without a man. And they thought that telling you going to get a college degree was going to make you more attractive to a man. But this isn't what men pick women on. We pick women based upon your natural role, our support system, femininity. Now, I want to clear up something too. Just because you're a feminine woman does not mean you get a man to take care and buy everything. No. Hispanic men, you got men coming across the border illegally who stand out in front of Home Depot or Lowe's or at the day labor centers collect cans. They are at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. But when they go home, they still have feminine women. Femininity has been taken, and it's something that modern women, especially in our community, use as a bargaining chip. Well, if you give me enough masculinity and perfect, then I'll give you, because I don't want to give you what my grandma or somebody else gave. How many of y'all seen The Color Purple? Anybody? Have you all seen The Color Purple?
Absolutely. Just watched it the other day.
How many times have you seen it?
Too many times to count.
Okay, in your life, have you ever? How many families? How many Color Purple like relationships have you actually seen in your life?
A good number.
Really?
Hmm.
Where?
Whether it's women that I see in the community or at church or something like that, you can see it.
Really?
And when you see The
No,
Color
we're talking
Purple,
about Miss.
Yeah, the whole Color Purple thing was Hollywood nonsense. It was a slight against black men. It was a assault against black men. To even suggest that a black man was able to have girls live with him, that's just not true. Now, when you start going back in time age of consent and stuff, those things were different. We lived in a different world. We're living in a different world. But there was some liberties taken in The Color Purple that unfortunately really drove a bad message into the black community. And Kevin's right. It was a fictitious movie, but it's sort of a lot of black people were heavily influenced by that that movie.
What you're trying to look for in a man if they were together 49 years? Was he an ambitious 20-year-old? Where did ambition come in with your daddy? In year 40, in year one.
I don't know.
Have you ever asked have your parents ever asked you why you never married?
Of course,
And what was who asked you, mom or dad?
my mom.
And what'd you tell her?
I told her similar to what I said to you.
I can't find a man on my level.
Hmm.
All right. So, and remember what I said earlier? A lot of times women get married and they'll have marriages, but they won't teach their daughters how to do it. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Your mama was married almost 50 years. It's your relationship model. But when you talk about The Color Purple, you talked about The Color Purple with some passion. You still watching it. That shit is still playing in your head. And it's one of the things that's wrecked our community. But then when you sit down with your mother and father, who that's, I would have loved to have had, most of us would love to have that, a 50-year relationship. You should be married with kids teaching us. And then your mama asks you, why didn't you got married? Did you ever ask your mama, well, what did you actually teach me to do? You gave me some platitudes. You gave me a Bible, but what did she teach you to do on a daily basis for a man?
I could say that my mother did show me by watching more
Okay.
than verbal.
Okay. So have any of you been around any other cultures, like Hispanic or Asian?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you notice,
Yes.
let's say Hispanic culture, do you notice that the women are in the family areas of the house, the kitchen and all that stuff, the men in other areas?
Yes.
That's, and we're all over 40. That's how we used to be. Thanksgiving. You're under 40, yeah.
I'd like to add, I spent 6 years living in the Middle East after my divorce.
Okay.
And the dynamics that I saw that the women lived in over there versus how we live here and what we feel so entitled to. It's extremely strange living there and experiencing it. And when you're over there and you see how the women interact with their men, it is not the same.
Are they happy? Are they happy with their families?
They're extremely satisfied. They have the
Well, Tina, get out of there, Tina. Tina, no. See, they're repressed. They're abused. They're second-class citizens. That's what's been pushed to y'all. But they're happy.
Oh, I lived there, and I'm talking about I lived in several countries in the Middle East, and that is not what I saw. I didn't see oppressed women. I
Yeah,
didn't
I was
see.
being facetious. I was being facetious because this is a lot of you ladies ask in The Color Purple.
Look, this is it seems to be a struggle amongst a lot of men. Modern women have rights. Modern women have the right to be single. They have the right to turn men's marriage proposals down. They have the right to function. They don't need men. And we're talking about going about 100 years ago. There was a time when women needed a man. Period. They needed a man to function. They couldn't own. They couldn't have a bank account. They couldn't own properties. They were limited. And once they had a husband, they were able to do things. They were able to function in our society. It was incentivized for them to be married. And also old age or whatever. I mean, old maid. Women who didn't get married were considered old maids. That was a negative stigma. If you want to go take a real look back in our society, think of Gunsmoke. Look at those. Look at those cowboy westerns. If you go into Gunsmoke, Miss Kitty's Bar. Miss Kitty's Bar was really a brothel. Who was in the brothel? 99% of those women were either women who had kids before they got married, women who got divorced. There was no future for women, single women like that. The only future they could do is, and then they couldn't go to church. They were looked down. They were looked upon as lower, lesser beings. We don't exist in that world today. So in many cases, many of these guys who cleave to this notion that women need to marry men at all costs are living in a fantasy world. Now, I think feminism is horrible. I know it's horrible. And I think that a lot of these women are delusional. But as a modern man, you have to understand, you have to vet women and you have to discern if they're even worth your time so that you don't waste time.
Was about an empowered woman breaking free of an oppressive black man. Black men have never had the power to oppress you like Mister. Waiting to Exhale, I read the book. They picked the worst stories. You got to understand, if you study World War II Germany, propaganda, that term, propaganda was used in the womanist feminist movement to sell you guys, hey, we got this issue with our man, and it's like a civil right. And what did y'all do? Y'all went on over there, and you got women who were feminists who were married. So, and the end result is it comes between a daughter and a mother. I'm gonna ask you, Antoinette, your parents have been married for a long time. Was there ever a point in time where you thought your mom was probably should have made a different decision? She probably should have.
I'm sure. Yes.
No, I'm asking. Is there ever a time where you're like, man, she probably should have went ahead and got her degree and explored life more instead of settling with dad so soon?
Well, actually, she did it after she took care of her primary responsibility, which was being a wife and a mother. So she didn't do it until we were all grown. So,
but a lot of times in our community, the women look down upon the women who stayed at the house. See, remember, in baby boomers, I witnessed this. Baby boomer women looked at silent generation women as fools. A lot of them. You put up with this cheating and this and that. I mean, then they all went off and started having babies and having affairs with married men and shit. The craziest stuff in the world. But here's the thing: if this is ever going to get fixed, women of y'all's age are going to have to talk and get this stuff sorted, because the younger women, the reason my platform works is because younger women are saying, I don't want to get the outcomes I'm seeing with a lot of women in their mid 30s to late 40s. That they don't want these outcomes. They want marriage and children and generational legacy and all that, everything you're talking about, Antoinette. And
I think Kevin had a good point, but I also think he's missing out on the fact that most black men don't make $100K or more, and not even a significant amount. When you look at it, 40 million African Americans in America, less than 200,000 black men and women. More black men do make over $100K. And when you start counting the beans, let's look at the NBA. Let's look at the NBA, right? Let's look at the NFL. It doesn't equate to over 80,000. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. Corporate America, it just doesn't. And then when you're talking about consistently, like 3 years in a row, you're dealing with a small amount of people. And most of those people, most of those men, a significant portion of those men who are married, because a lot of them are not married, marry white women. So who are making over 100K a year. And if 100K or more is the goal, you're talking to less than 1% of the population. There was problems in his message, and I think that what we need to do as a people is that Black women need to be ready to get married. White women need to be ready to be married. Men need to be ready to be married. People need to be committed, and people have to respect the wishes of each other. I think men are men and women are women. Now, I think that if a man wants a relationship with a woman where he just has complete control and complete dominance, he's going to have to marry women who are not educated. He's going to have to marry women who are dependent, very much dependent on him, because he's not going to get that with women who have options.
If you had a good map, a good role model, I don't know what happened. But if you're going to have any chance of putting this on the right course, fitness has to be at the top of the list, because that's what men pick on. Men pick on visuals. And generational wealth, you need somebody to finish the rest of life with. That's why I'm like, you're going to have to settle. And I hate saying settle, because honestly, men feel like they're settling for y'all. Yeah, do y'all understand what I mean when I say that?
Mhm.
They are, in a sense, and
Yeah, 32 years old with 2 kids, divorced. Yeah, any man who would deal with you would be settling. But we're going under the assumption, and we'll grant you that assumption, that the man himself does not have any baggage. If he's a young man, he's worked hard, he's established, and he happens to be single, he's ready to pursue a wife, and you're 32 and you got 2 kids, yeah, he's settling. If you're 40, she's 40, and she's got a child, but she's married, that's settling. Obviously, a woman 44 with no kids, weighing 300 plus pounds, or 230, my fault, 230. Yeah, any man who would opt to that is settling. He's settling. And a lot of Black women don't see that.
I would say this: is men who, as a man who's dated other races of women, there is a difference between the cultures.
mhm.
Oh, absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
so what do Black men get for choosing to stay and fight through this? What's our
I agree with you, Mr. Samuel, as far as us having to start some type of informational situation with females, because that's one of the things that a lot of us don't have. We don't have like a cultural setup.
Mhm.
So when
True.
I do something like clear the table after we have dinner, or that impresses men here. Now that I went on my journey, I came back with those little tools. When I clear the table after we eat, the gentleman looks at me like, did you just clear a table? Did you just that's customary for the women over there.
Right.
Over here, we don't practice that.
Right.
Simple.
I had a woman come onto my channel, a Hispanic woman who was married to a Black man, and she said that anytime I go to serve my husband, serve his plate or whatever, his sisters, his mama, and all his female relatives sit back and like, girl, what are you doing? You ain't got to. He been getting his own plate his entire life. He ain't got to do that. And he's like, well, that's my. And to the point to where these unmarried, overweight women are telling this woman who's married. And here's the problem: because there are no fathers in the household, women feel like they're empowered. I got a video on my channel, 39 minutes. Ain't my problem. That's the video. I challenge you all to watch it. And I asked the woman a question. What is more important, the Black woman or the Black community? And she basically said the Black woman. Because you guys have been put to a point where you're like mini gods. When you have children outside of men, you are responsible for the kid's lifeline. You are responsible for everything. The first time most black children see a black man of any authority is likely in junior high or high school.
In the black community, we're so assimilated into American culture and American society. What is the black community? Because I mean, other than the fact that you're a black person, and another person is black, there's really no connection. And oftentimes that's a manipulation term that's used because it doesn't really exist. There are no show me where the blacks in a particular part of a state, right? Say Texas. Show me where there's a show me where there's 30,000 African Americans married together and they own that property and they own the businesses and they own the economy in that community. Doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. So therefore, other than the fact that when you say black community, what do you mean? I mean, like, I'm just serious. You have to be a little bit more specific. But once again, with marriage, men are looking for fit, feminine, beautiful women. And it would be better off for all women, all women, all women, all women, if they would live up to what a man needs.